CNN and Al Jazeera TV and Al Tahrir camera, CNN or Al Jazeera camera on Tahrir Square. I call this the God's eye, because it's to protect the revolutionists there or the demonstrators there 24 hours. You have coverage for more 17 days. Well, this is never can happen in Syria, because now you have two models actually on the Egyptian, Tunisian, and Yemeni. When the people actually go to the main square and having sit-in demonstration, and the people they come, the size, and then making the pressure for the president to step down. And this is no way to happen in Syria. They tried in Daraa, in the Al-Umari Mosque, and they killed 7. Because and they tried in Slaybiyah, in Latakia, they tried in Homs, in the new clock square in Homs, and the security cleared the demonstration by only using the live ammunition. They killed in Homs at least 12, and Slaybiyah 16, when trying to clear the site in demonstration. This model cannot work in Syria. The second model actually it was in Libya, when actually the opposition, especially in Benghazi, liberate part of the country, then trying to move to the north. But even that, it's transfer from the second or the third day, from non-violence resistant to be a violent resistant in Libya, and now you have a NATO, and we don't know this option. This is why we have actually to invent different model for our country, for Syria, because we need this revolution to continue. With the same time, we need to be non-violent, because it's more effective tactics for many reasons. Maybe I can come to that later. It's what we did actually then to help what's happening in Syria. We know that even the United States and the international community, they don't have the leverage that they do have in Egypt or in Tunisia. The United States gave grants and aid to the Egypt at least $1.5 billion a year. And this is why all of the generals in Egypt, Sami Anan or Tantawi, all the high generals actually trained in the United States. And this gave the United States the leverage or the access to the army. This is why the United States actually was 100% sure about the transitional period, that there is an institution called the army. It can deal with the issue. That Egypt cannot go with the chaos. There is no chaos in Egypt. Since the army, there is respect inside the Egyptian people to the army. But this is not the case in Syria. The United States hasn't any access, hasn't the leverage. And we know the Syrian regime sometimes lost the leverage with the most close regimes to him, Bashar al-Assad, especially the Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan and French President Sarkozy. And this is why it's maybe the Syrian regime going on the Libyan direction rather than the Egyptian and the Tunisian direction. Because the number of the people who have been killed in Syria, it exceeds easily more than 1,000. We are talking about 3 weeks ago, we started talking about unidentified dead bodies. Well, this is started in Libya in the second week. When we start about that, it's as a human rights organization now, we cannot keep tracking the numbers. And this is why the situation it's really alarming. In Egypt, as example, during the 17 days of the Egyptian revolution, the Human Rights Organization, it's actually said that more than 250, the number of people who have been killed in 17 days. But 2 weeks ago, actually, the Armed Force Council, he said the number is 822. This is the number in Egypt. When you have stronger human rights organization, genuine civil society can monitor what's going on, then you have a media. And what's now in Syria only depends on the brave human rights activists or on our work and some journalists. This is why the number it's much larger, of course, especially now in Daraa, and this is 11 days huge military operation. which still rumors came on about the mass graves, about the people have been killed in the area from, if some of you are familiar with Dar al-Balad, there is actually an area called Al-Miskiya. It's became actually like soccer play. They demolish all the area. This is why and we don't have information yet, exact information about what's happened in Dara. This is why we understand here in the United States that the importance of the international community to act very quickly. From the first day, we understand that we should have worked with the international mechanism of the human rights protection, which is the most important and significant institution, the Human Rights Council. The Human Rights Council actually established in 2008. This is a body from, after the criticism in 2005 about the United States done nothing, it should be reform the United Nations, it came with the idea for the Human Rights Commission to succeed by the Human Rights Council. The Human Rights Council is a part of the United Nations. It's 47 members in the Human Rights Council. The Human Rights Council has no teeth, we know that, but it's the most effective one as a tool to use it for the human rights abuses. This is why from the first day actually we're trying to mobilize for the United States and the EU to work, should we have special session on the UN Human Rights Council on Syria. And this will send a very strong message to the Syria regime about that. And should the resolution include sending a international inquiry about the killings and the human rights abuses in Syria. We succeed in that. We're working with the State Department, Assistant Secretary of State, she's named Susan Nasser. I know her, and I met her at State Department. It was an argument why we do have a special session on Syria, not on Bahrain or in Yemen. We argue that the number of the killed people in Syria is much higher. In Bahrain, we are talking about 36. In Yemen, we are talking about 163. And in Yemen, actually, in the last stage, and should be, as we did in Libya, should have special session on Syria, like in Libya. Unfortunately, the Arab League, it was very supportive in Libya, it wasn't in Syria. The Arab League actually played very negative role. The Islamic organization also played very negative role, opposing the special session, but we succeed to have signature of 16 countries, and this is enough to call for a special session on Syria. I was in Geneva. You have a lot of work to do to meet with the ambassador, representative, to convince them about the resolution, because it's not only enough to have special session on Syria. It's the most important thing about the resolution. And from the day I arrived in Geneva 3 days before, it was actually for the most important thing for the Syrian government not to have international inquiry about the killings. Because their idea is that we can kill as much as we can, and then we can to back as a normal, and nobody care about that, as they did in Hama, and in different parts of Syria in different years. We insist to have should be international inquiry about that, and then we got the resolution by 26 countries. They agreed to have international inquiry and none of the Arabic countries voted yes. But it was significant to have the most largest Arabic countries, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Bahrain, and Qatar, who is a member of the Human Rights Council. They voted with absent, which this gave a message to the Syrian regime that it's much more isolated regime right now at the Human Rights Council. This international inquiry actually established last Friday after the improvement of a lot of bureaucratic work at the UN level. And this international inquiry will request to have access to Syria, to go to Syria to investigate all human rights abuses, not only the killings. That's included, of course, the torture, the political prisoners, included, or of course, preventing the human assistant or the medical assistant for the people who are in need.